Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 214. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have back with us the internationally acclaimed comic book creators of Bigfoot Knows Karate, Dan Price.
Hey,
Dan,
how's it going, y'all?
how you doing?
Thanks for having me on tonight.
That's right. So the last time you were on, you're episode 101. Now you're episode 214. So,
oh wow,
yeah.
You've had a lot of episodes between then.
I know. See, it's what happened was as soon as I had the comic book creator from Bigfoot Knows Karate show up, I just got inundated with all these other comic book creators who say, "Hey, listen, if Dan can come on the show, I mean, so this if it passes the Dan test." This must be pretty good.
I thought it was going to be like if Dan can get on, anyone can, you know. So,
Dan, so congratulations, because you had your Kickstarter for Bigfoot Knows Karate, the first one, chapter 1. It just went gangbusters. You did it was amazing. You got a lot of feedback on that, and now you're coming back with chapter 2 of Bigfoot Knows Karate called Born Under a Bad Sign. Correct. And that's being released as of this recording, October 12th, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that'll be on Kickstarter October 12th, 7 p.m. Central Time. So
so talk to us a bit about, for our audience, to let them know what can they expect for those that read Bigfoot Knows Karate Chapter 1 when they fight Cthulhu. So what can they expect in Chapter 2?
Well, first of all, I will say to anybody who is watching and they want to check out issue 1 before the campaign starts, go to globalcomics.com. You can read Bigfoot Knows Karate number 1 for free on Global Comics. So go check that out. And then there's a 3-page preview of Chapter 2. With that being said, there is when we last left our hero, he was not in good shape. After fighting Kung Fu Thulu, it took it out of him, and then some things happened that I'm not going to go into because I want you guys to check out the comic. But let me just say that we pick up where we left off, and our guy, I think it's like this. If you were a Bigfoot and you lived in complete isolation, and that's all you knew, and nobody cared to know you, nobody loved you, nobody had any, you were completely isolated and alone. What's worse, being completely isolated or being surrounded by enemies? Because that's where we found our Bigfoot in at this point at the beginning of the story. And the environment's completely changed, his situation is completely changed, and he is captive in a bad situation right now. So that's what you can expect. I don't really like to drop a lot of teasers, just because, like, if you remember on the last campaign, all we talked about was Bigfoot versus Kung Fu Thulu. That's all we talked about. We just sold the book like it was a punch 'em up. And when you got to actually read the comic, you get to that 4th act and you're like, oh my God, this is not what I signed up for. And I'm glad I did. And, so I will say this, our man's going to be meeting a whole lot of other cryptid and kaiju this issue. There's going to be Thermonucleodon, the kaiju monster with missiles growing out of his back. Okay. There's going to be Chupacabra with a shotgun. There's going to be a female character that shows up this issue that is featured on the cover that we have done by Zip Alegria. Thermonucleodon versus Chupacabra was done. That cover is being done by Jevin Loop. We did 4 covers this issue, and I'll explain those in a little bit. And then there's another big bad, and the cadre of people that have him. There's just so many characters, whereas in the last issue, it was really just 2 or 3 characters in the book. Now we're blowing up the universe a little bit, and you're getting a bigger idea of who our Bigfoot is and where he fits in this world.
Right. And so talk to us a little bit about that. So you, in chapter 2, you're kind of expanding out the world itself. Now, when you put this together, do you have an end game on this? Do you have a whole meta plot already planned out?
Oh yeah, no, we're plotted out. The entire 5-issue arc is plotted out and done. Like, we have our synopsis laid down for all of them, and then details that go into each one. We know what breadcrumbs need to be spread from issue to issue in order to, like, oh, that happened in issue 2 or that happened in issue 1, and you're reading it in book 4 going, oh, I remember that.
Right.
We're really trying to and this is very planned out. I'll just put it like that. This is very planned out. And then we already know where we're going with the second arc. So,
Okay.
and know how the first one needs to end in order for the second one to work properly. So, Casey and I have spent a lot of time talking about this book, probably about 3 days a week. We talk about this book for about 15, 20 minutes a day, that work 3-4 days a week. We're having some sort of discussion about it. And, which is great because when you're co-writing a project, communication is absolutely key. And, sometimes most of the time we see eye to eye. Sometimes we butt heads. I think that's natural. And because Casey and I just dig each other so much, it's just always water under the bridge. Because in the end of the day, we want what's best for the book,
Right.
And so he'll dig his heels in on something, and I'll dig my heels in on something, or foot down. This is what we're doing, and like the other one's like, damn it, this is funny because like in the first book we had a big old thing about the how Kung Fu Thulu breathed. Casey wanted to do this thing where he breathed all funny and the thing, and it was really distracting. And then this issue, I wanted to have a character that had a symbiotic man-eating Venus flytrap wrapped around him. And he was like, "That's just too far, dude." So you got to give and take. You got to give and take.
And so, how was it like as you made the story arc? How much did world building come into that as well?
I never think about it like world building. I hear that
Right.
term a lot. And I like to think that this could take place in our world. You know what I mean? Like this isn't, that we're dealing with, a generic 2022. But
Right.
at the same time, I guess we're talking we're talking history of the character, and we're talking about where he fits in and into a larger plot. There's a lot of mythology that we use in this story. Okay, that will be braided in throughout, and so mythology that we've created and mythology that we've taken from from history, or from different regions in the world. So trying to weave a story of a Bigfoot doing karate that has a lot of historical mythological ties to it. I think that because we're working in established worlds and established lore, that makes it a lot easier. But then you have to figure out how do you marry this with that and make it work properly and be respectful to where you're coming, from where it's coming from in the first place. And then, the rest of it we're shooting from the hip. I wouldn't, because it's like we know our plot. I'm just not good at the world building question, Barney, because it's like I've never thought about it from that way. And I know some creators that talk about you have to spend months, years working your world before you start writing your book. And for me, that's just not how I work. Like for me, I'm like, I start with a title, I start with a character, and then work around that, and figure out what world this character needs to exist in, rather than how does the character exist in this world. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not it's more centric towards the character. Yeah.
And so as you created, as you said, Bigfoot Knows Karate, you have already established the cryptid aspect of it. Are you now, do you feel as a writer you're kind of forced into introducing other cryptids just for, say, fan service, or for the fact that we've already established Bigfoot, like you said, like a chupacabra, and do you feel as though that we have to play out this theme?
We have to play out this theme, not for fan service, but purely for the story. Okay. And because when you as you read the story, and we go on issue to issue, you will see that all these cryptid and kaiju are very important to the overall arc. So it's not like we're just throwing in a chupacabra with a shotgun because we want to, hey, I want to see a chupacabra in the next issue. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I dig a chupacabra with a shotgun. I think he's rad. But no, it all plays out to something bigger. And
Okay.
we already have taken the concept that this it's a Bigfoot doing karate. We're very unconventional here. I mean, so there's going to be. I think Casey said it to him the best when we were writing this issue. He said to me, "Don't you think we're going a little off the rails here?" Excuse me. And what I said back to him was, dude, we have a Bigfoot doing karate. We've been off the rails since page 1. I mean, and that mentality is what worked for us. I mean, honestly, because it's not that we're trying to do weirder stuff each issue, to see if we can get a bigger rise out of people or something like that. But I think we set the bar. We set the bar at a place where we can have some fun with it. It's not like we're trying to meet the first issue, because they're two different stories all tied into one thing. The first issue was very much, the introductions, punch them up and reveal. Okay. And then the second issue, we've got to kind of explain some of the stuff. So there's a good amount of exposition in this book too. Not like we're going to sit there and give you the history and, and that sort of thing, but the characters playing out their scenes and, explaining to us, through their conversations and their actions, who they are and what they do. Yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
So as you brought up like introduction and doing exposition, are these, as you mentioned, are these writing techniques to say, all right, if you're going to have a 5-issue arc or even a 6-issue arc, or if you're doing that, is this something that more of the savvy comic book writers can kind of see the sauce that you and Casey are making to say, all right, intro, exposition, probably episode, chapter 3 is going to cover this aspect of a comic book writing technique?
I mean, there's a hero's journey here, I mean, for sure. Right. So it's so there's going to be some pieces that are paced out where you'd expect them to be. There's going to be other things that happen that you're going to be like, oh, that's a left turn. I mean, look, Casey's a writer's writer. He's fantastic. I've been writing since I was a creative writing influence in my English degree in college. I've written a lot of different things, whether it be comic books, short stories, novella, whatever. I even wrote a play that was entirely in movie quotes,
I remember that.
I think we talked about that. Yeah. So, we've been around, and so it's like, what I've come to the conclusion of with this book is, you hear people tell you, write what you know. I know comedy comics. This is write what you don't know. This is stretch your brain, stretch your imagination, and do something different. So with that being said, I mean, if a skilled writer can pick up on what we're doing, mazel tov. I think that's great. That means they're very good at what they do. If they can just enjoy the story, that would be just as good. But I think that there's often times where people compare this to that. Like somebody has said, I was listening to a review of the first issue, and somebody had talked about the book Berserk, which is a manga. I've never read it, but they said, the guys who wrote this book, may or may not have read Berserk, but either way, they got it. They understood the pacing of how to do that journey and all of that stuff. And, so I was like, all right, well, that's a compliment. I mean, what else are you going to say to that? I mean, like, hey, they may or may not have read Berserk and they screwed it up. That would have been worse. So,
but as you mentioned, so you and Casey have been working together for a while now.
Yeah.
How has your partnership, your writing partnership, evolved since chapter 1?
Well, I mean, I think in chapter 1, I came to the table with a lot of it kind of banged out in terms of what the plot was going to be and where certain things, and Casey really took on the pacing of the book and getting the fight scene how it needed to be, and then I kind of had the front end and the back end, and we worked out there was this, I don't remember if you read the book, but there was the scene where they're going in between planes of reality, and so Casey and I worked that together, and he had a lot of input on that. This issue, while the plot was something that I had worked out a lot of already, we worked that out together, and Casey really has taken the reins on writing most of the book in terms of getting it all together, and then I go back in and we work a little bit here and there, mostly fudge with the dialogue. That's something that I'm really big on, is working the dialogue. So I wanted to give him more, give him more space. At the same time, such a control freak that's not always easy for him. I'm sure we get off the phone and he's cursing me or something like that, but he's he's fantastic. I mean, he's great to work with. It's been a dream.
And so talk to us a little bit about what you can tell us from chapter 2. As we mentioned earlier, you do have, but you do introduce new characters as well.
Yes. We introduced a slew of new characters that tie into the people that captured Bigfoot at the end of issue 1, and the people, and then characters that have been captured. So there's a lot of those, and then a lot of monsters. A lot of monsters. You can expect that for sure. But some good action, I would have to say, some good action, a couple little twists here and there. And I think that when you read, look, it starts just right into action. And, I think once you see the first little twist that we pull off, then you're like, all right, I'm in. Because did you read issue 1?
Yeah.
Okay, so we had some twists in that book. It even started off with who's going to kill the rabbit. Right at the first issue. In the first few pages, and it just kept twisting and twisting as we went until we got to the ending. And I had people DM me, call me like, "What are you thinking?" At the ending of the book, like that's insane. So I'm glad people liked it. I'm glad that they were able to appreciate the more than a fist fight. I'm glad that it was more than a martial arts book, and people were stoked for that fact. So I'm real grateful of that. I mean, seriously. I don't know what else to say, because seriously, I'm just beaming thinking about it. Like, they liked it, they really liked it.
And you did mention in previous interview that you're looking at just not doing a lot of add-on swag on this. It is no t-shirts, nothing. You're pretty much going to stick with things that you can fit in, what'd you say, in a Gemini box?
Yeah, I said that in the last. I'm standing firm on that. The only thing that we did on the last campaign that didn't fit in a box was we did do a t-shirt through TeePublic. So that was mailed directly from the manufacturer. And then I did a commissions tier. And so, since I draw digitally, I did them in color, and they were completely, unique to. I didn't reuse artwork or anything like that. It was just Bigfoot art, unique to each one. And then I had them printed on canvas and shipped those directly from the manufacturer. So everything I packed up just fit right into a Gemini mailer. And so we're using the same mentality, except no t-shirts this time.
Right.
So it's literally, if I can fit it into a short box or a Gemini mailer, because we're doing an 8-pack this issue, where you can get the covers from issue 1 and the covers from issue 2 all in one package. So I'll have to get a bit of a different box for all of that. But my rule is fit it in one mailer, and that's it, because I think I said before, I was cheap. I'm my own artist for that reason. I'm also, trying to keep costs down where I can. And, the cost of shipping has just gotten ridiculous, and trying to, so I don't want to roll or fold posters. That always irritates me when, what I mean, when you get the poster and it's folded and that kind of thing. That's, even if it has a professional fold in it, I generally won't hang it on my wall if it has a fold in it. So, we did these last time. They were just little mini prints. And people went gaga over these last time. And we did these. And so they came in like with the variant covers. You got the mini prints with your book. And and then we did trading cards and stickers and stuff for the stretch goals and that sort of thing. But so we're going to do more of these this time around, because really, I think we did 2 last time. I think we're going to probably do 3 or 4 this go around, and offer some set in the packs, and then some for if we're lucky enough to get stretch goals, then we'll include those into stretch goals or something like that.
You are talking about putting in like different variant covers as well, more this time around.
Yep. Yeah, we did. So last time we had 2 regular editions and then the 2 deluxe editions. That formula worked well for us, so we're going back to the well on that one too, because the regular edition will be a 33-page book this time around, and then I provide the regular edition cover, and then the variant cover is done by a gentleman named Zip Alegria. and it's stunning artwork.
Mm.
And then we also have the 2 deluxe editions, one covered by Jevin Loop, and then Adam Caswell did the variant deluxe for issue 2 or for issue 1. So he's back for issue 2 with a wraparound cover this time, which is also just incredible work. So, and the deluxe editions, how they differ from the regular editions, those will be 44 pages, maybe 48. I think we might have to extend it a little bit. But that won't cost them any, the backer any difference. You know what I mean? That's negligible. We'll cover that cost for sure. But we did in the last campaign, we did the 44 pager. And so in that, it had not only art, the comic book, but it also had fan art pages. Okay, we got a lot of really amazing fan art in the first campaign, and so we wanted to, celebrate that and show that off to everybody too. So we got that, and that was really cool. And then the other thing that we did in the other part of it we did was the director's commentary. So you could click on the QR code, and it would take you to a YouTube video where we talk in depth about the comic book, because like I said, we sold this as a punch 'em up. We never really explained to y'all anything that we were doing. And so that was our opportunity to really talk about the book at length and go into the details of things. And we did a roundtable discussion. We had like 5 people on the call, and we just did it over Zoom, screen share, and just talked it out. And people dug that. I mean, people really enjoyed it. So we're gonna do that again for issue 2. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So we'll have a bunch of new artwork that we're gonna do. I'll have some sketches in the back, and Adam's gonna put some art in the back, and we'll have some other draw this in your style fan art stuff that'll go back there too. So a really beautiful piece by Dennis Valencia that was drawn in the style of Sin City, because I'm a big Frank Miller fan, and he knew that, so he did this Frank piece, of Bigfoot, and it's just amazing.
So, with that moving forward, where do you see like as the characters being like the masthead character being Bigfoot? Mm-hmm. Do you foresee as a writer and a fan also of the characters? Do you see one that's going to be introduced who's going to be like, this is probably I can't wait for issue 4. I can't wait when people get introduced to Blow. Is there something on there that you're just kind of like chomping at the bit that you can't wait for the readers to discover?
Well, I think that y'all are gonna like the female character that we bring in issue 2. I think that she is very interesting. There's a few things there. I mean, it's not really that this one character, I can't wait to introduce them. It's more like instances. It's moments, it's explanations. It's things like that will, peel back the layer a little bit each issue. And what we're going to do also is, so Adam, who did, this cover here, he is going to be doing interiors on a side story that we're going to do that takes place in Bigfoot's past. And it's going to shed some light on, you can call it a prequel, or it's not a 0 issue. I can tell you that. I'm not a fan of 0 issues. It's a chapter. It's just another chapter that happened previous to the first book. And hopefully we're going to have several of those done by different artists that we can explore different things that will help fortify the arc, as well as just be a fun story that you can read on its own and just have a good time with it. Because like I said, we've got the second arc. We know where that's going. We're thinking a lot about how we're going to pull this off for the long term.
So, like, from a sociological perspective, where do you think the draw is, how Bigfoot Knows Karate was able to touch a certain chord with so many people? Of why what is it, do you think, that draws people to Bigfoot Knows Karate?
Well, I first want to say thank you, Instagram. Okay, thank you, Instagram, for helping us find an audience and supporting the comic and drawing the character. I think that what happened was, by the time we launched the first campaign, we had already had 60 pieces of fan art sent to us.
Right.
Okay. It's over 100 now. Okay. And and people have just gotten, they kind of, it just went a little viral for a minute there and people really got into it. And I'm grateful for that because, I think the concept, of a Bigfoot doing karate, the title Bigfoot Knows Karate, it just grabbed people's attention. Mark Bernal from Lesser Known Comics will say that he told me one time, you got the best elevator pitch I've ever heard because it's all in the title. He goes, I use it as examples when I'm doing, talking with people about, about how to do comics. He always talks about my elevator pitch, just the title alone. I think that was really, I think the title was, it worked well. I think it just grabs people's attention. The character's interesting enough to look at. There's enough mystery about how did he learn martial arts that people get excited about it. And honestly, that's a question I'm not even interested in answering for a good long time because I don't think that's the most interesting part of the character. I think there's so much more to the character than just learning how he learned to do, him doing a kata, as a young Bigfoot or something like that. There's just so much more to this character. And I know that that's a question that everybody's been asking. How did he learn the karate? Yeah, just wait for a while. We'll get there. You know what I mean? Because to me, there's so many other captivating points to the story. It's just funny because we'll have to answer it eventually. I guess here's the thing. When Marvel did Origin was the day that Logan became uninteresting to me. The one thing, there was things you used to be able to count on. Bucky stayed dead. Gwen Stacy was dead. And you did not know who Wolverine was. These were like constants. Now Wolverine's got like 1,900 children. You know what I mean? Gwen's alive and Bucky's got metal arms. And I want to keep some of that mystery. I'm really, the thing that attracted me so much to Wolverine was the fact that he didn't even know who he was.
Right.
That's cool.
Right. So where do you see social media fitting in the evolution of comics right now?
Well, I mean, I was having this discussion with another creator over DM today. We're not just selling a comic, we're selling ourselves. And, so yeah, you have to engage. And, which I'm not always the best on Twitter. I'm usually not, hey, what's your favorite movie? Put that down in the comments. I don't do much of that. But you do have to show enthusiasm for your project, and you have to believe in your project, and you have to put your best foot forward, and you got to keep a positive mental attitude. That's social media, right? I mean, and I think that social media is one of those places. I mean, like for so many people, like during the pandemic, we all made new friends, and we watched each other grow as craftspersons on, in our books and stuff like that, and seeing all that growth. And it's not just pitching your wares, it's finding a community. And people who got your back, people who will give you critique and advice, will take a moment to share or teach you, so you can become better at what you do. I've been on both sides of that stick, where I'm asking questions or I'm giving answers. And that's the thing. Everybody, there's very few people who are doing this full time. Most of us have other jobs and we pull from different things. So like I know one cat who's in sales, and he's figured out how to do a distribution model with different distributors and that sort of thing for his indie comic. That's amazing. I come from a world of marketing and advertising, so for me social media is handled differently than it might be for some other people, because I'm really looking at looking at the analytics a lot differently, and I'm trying, and I've kind of honed down what times to post on which platforms to yield the best results. And I mean, look, I'm no guru. Okay. I'm no guru at all, but trying to, do my best to figure it out. So social media is introduced, I always knew comic creators here in town, but I'm closer with people over on the Eastern Seaboard. over the last year. Casey, who I've never met, I've known him for 4 years, and we talk on the phone all the time. We Zoom on Saturday mornings, like 7 a.m., and we go through and do stuff that we need to do for the comic and all of that. So yeah, I mean, that's how I met my entire team. Adam, he lives up in northern Maine. Our paths were never going to cross. He just happened to notice Bigfoot Knows Karate on Instagram, started sending me artwork. It's like, so yeah, social media is important, and how you attack it or handle it, or attack's the wrong word, but how you handle it and handle yourself. Stand up straight. You put on a good, fresh face, and just be kind too.
Right. Yeah.
I say that, I write for a magazine in my day job as well. It's part of my job. I write for a magazine, and that's always like a piece of advice I always give to our readers. Just be positive, be kind, be kind. How hard is it? It doesn't cost you anything. You watch people on Twitter blow up about the latest She-Hulk episode, or, because an indie creator did something that looks too much like Wolverine. Let me tell you something, pal. They all look like Wolverine. Okay. They're all the Punisher. Okay. It's so easy to just be nice.
Right. Yeah.
It's not, so social media, it gives you an opportunity to put your information out there, but how you put it out there is so important. And that's how it's going to help you get traction if you do it right.
What would be your advice for those budding comic creators that want to get out there and start doing a Kickstarter and say, hey, I got an artist. I think I got a book together. I just listened to Dan Price talk about the marketing aspect of it, and I'm not good at it. What would be your advice to those comic creators?
Okay, so my advice would be get your book going and show progress of your book as you're going. Okay, don't have to show page for page. Just show a panel here, a panel there, out of order. Okay, just so you're giving, show sketches, show things like that. Even if you want to show writing prompts and whatever. But if your Kickstarter's, an X month, well, you start promoting your book 9 months before. And I don't mean like, go look at our Kickstarter, okay, just a little bit, keep it going all the time. You got to keep that drip happening. And, just keep, post 3 times, 5 times a week on Instagram. They say you got to post like 3 times a day on Twitter or something like that to gain any real traction. It's too much for me. But, but keep the information flowing. Be engaging, ask questions, get people to comment on your questions, and start building up a rapport with people. On Instagram, if you have a question, DM someone. What's the worst they're going to do? Not respond? But most everybody's going to at least give you some sort of answer to help you answer your question. Right. So make friends and get, and find people that are going to support you, and you're going to support them. A good example is Christopher Michael from Crit. He and I have become friends over the last year, and we're doing our launches on the same night at the same time at the same live launch. So, we're going to bring our A game. He's going to bring his A game, and we're going to have a really great launch that night, because Chris takes the marketing about as seriously as we do, and so we're going to probably, I'll put it like this also, we did the live launch last time on the Kickstarter. Okay. So we did the live launch on Instagram, and we pumped that up for like a month, 3 weeks, something like that before the event. Started just dropping graphics about it and that sort of thing. We had over 200 people watch that live that night. By the time we were done, there was 200 people had walked through that room that evening. And we invited creators to keep coming into the room. There's 4 cameras, so we would have 2, 3 of them in and out every 5-10 minutes, bringing their audiences in, and then they leave, and then we bring another creator in that brings their audiences with them, and we made this live work to the tune of, we asked for $1,000 in the campaign, and we funded that $1,000 in 7 minutes.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. So Instagram can be a really powerful tool. Twitter, if you're on Twitter, there's Twitter Spaces. Get a conversation going, but do something to engage people. I do a lot of live draws on Instagram. I'll just set up my camera and I'll just draw live on camera. whatever it takes, man. Invite other artists in to draw with you, okay? And so you're bringing their audiences in, and people are getting to know you that way. You know, you don't have to be all salesman huckster the entire time. Just talk,
Right.
enjoy each
Right.
other, and I think that yields results.
Right. Perfect. Now, another question for you, Dan, is where do you see conventions? Because you started this during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Where do you see the value of conventions? Do they still provide value to comic creators?
I don't know. You know, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I've done conventions since this book's come out, and I mean, and we've made money, and it's been great. But you know, these conventions have turned into pop cons with every the Saved by the Bell cast or the Teenage Witch cast or whatever. And
Right.
so, and when the comic book market, it's so Marvel DC centric that that swallows up everybody's eyeballs. So what are you left with? You've got to find conventions that people, if you're trying to sell comics, go to conventions that track comic book collectors.
Right.
I'm going to Baltimore Comic Con at the end of the month, and so that's a comic book convention like no other. I mean, the stars are the creators, and John Leguizamo. But it's those are the stars are Frank Miller, Jim Lee are like the big names that are going to be there, but there's so many others. So I'm really excited to go check that out. Different state, different place. If you're solely trying to just sell comics, you'll find these small shows at the little hotel shows and things like that, because people are more apt to get involved in that because they're not trying to get Jean-Luc Picard's signature for $300 or whatever it is. So, so there's that. And then, but the conventions are also really important for connecting with your audience and building your audience. You can't look at them solely as I'm going to make money. You got to look at it from the networking perspective. You got to look at it from the money perspective, because look, you got to fly there, you got to set up, you got to print, you got to hotel, food, Ubers, whatever you got to do. It's all expensive. So hopefully, you go make some connections with some other companies, and meet some people that can help your book or take you to the next place. I don't know where the next place is. I love doing an indie created book, but one day, hopefully, maybe I'll connect with a publisher that might be able to take Bigfoot Knows Karate to the next level. Wouldn't that be cool?
So this is great. That's some great advice, Dan. So for those to as of this recording, Bigfoot Knows Karate is going to be going out October 12th. For those to make this an evergreen podcast, if somebody's listening to this in a year from now, where can they find Bigfoot Knows Karate Chapter 2 and Chapter 1?
Okay, so currently you can find Chapter 1 on Global Comics, and that one's for free. I don't know if it's going to stay free forever, but it's going to. But you'll be able to find it there. And then you can get physical copies at mephistocomics.com. That's currently where my physical books are. But if you ever can't reach, you have a problem, I don't know, go to bigfootknowskarate.com. Shoot me an email from there, and you can. It's got an email section at the bottom. That's the website right there. And on this website, you can also get T-shirts. You can go to the art gallery. You can go see the video for the campaign right there. Lots of cool stuff. And but yeah, now down at the bottom, you just shoot me an email. I'll get you a comic, even have to ship it out myself. So.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dan. I'm very excited to check out the Chapter 2. It's gonna be really interesting.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Barney, for having me on. I really do appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I do got to make a quick PSA, since Casey's not here. So people, please do not put QR codes on electronic things.
Right. You heard that, then, yes? Oh my God. He railed on that. What show was that on? Who was that? I can't remember.
I think that was on the Indie Corner, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he went off. I was laughing, so I was like in my head, I'm like, oh my God, dude, you're cracking me up over here. At least he didn't go on one of his rants about 90210 and the traveling pants and the Yaya sisterhood and all that stuff that he usually goes on. So he's a hoot.
So